Hi everyone, I just wanted to share some of the supplements that I use which might be helpful to the odd person out there. Just be mindful though, obviously, to find out what's going on in your own body through medical tests or through a nutritionist, because it's really vital before you start taking any supplements really to know what's going on, because you don't want to cause any more imbalances. So if you have got that knowledge, then that is helpful, because at least then you will be drawn hopefully to the types of supplements that you need. Now, a lot of good information that I've resourced is through my nutritionalist that I worked with previously, but also through the Trying Low Oxalates group, and they are on Facebook. And I will put the information in the description box below so you can check them out. The other source is Sally K. Norton, and I've shared one of her books previously, and I'll put that in the description below as well. So they're really good sources for looking at various supplements, particularly for a low oxalate diet. The thing with supplements are there's a lot of hidden things in the supplements that you've got to be careful of. There's also hidden oxalates in the supplements, and it could be through the likes of beet powder, which beetroot we know is a very high oxalate food. So they can be disguised under various things. So just be careful when you are looking for supplements to try and find something that's as clean as possible and as pure as possible. So you really just want, ideally, that one thing, not lots of other things added. I'm not completely 100% that all of these supplements are completely clean. We don't know 100%. You can only do your best in trying to find out. Some of these have been recommended. Some of them I've sourced myself. And so, yeah, it is an ongoing learning curve. So I'm only going to share these with you today just based on what I'm doing at the moment. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to change this as I move forward. This is just where I'm at the moment and what is helping me personally. Okay, so one of the first supplements I just want to share with you is called Mount Capra, and it's a whole goat milk. Now, what's really nice about this one is it's actually a powder. So it comes in a powder form. You just add it to water and just have that. You can either add it to another drink that you have during the day, or you could just have it with water. And I tend to pair it with my meals because, like any type of food, it's always best in combination. Certainly the supplements mainly. It's not always the case, but this is a type of food product. So, and the reason I go for the goat's milk personally, this particular product, is one, because this one's high in calcium, and as we know, calcium binds to oxalates, so it's particularly good to add this to your diet. And again, when you're eating oxalates, so with your meal, with your foods. This is also high in protein, and it contains all 9 essential amino acids. So it's one of the building blocks to the body, and very, very crucial to get this in your diet. I would say, regardless whether you're a meat eater or not, or a fish eater, you still need to have enough protein in the body. So this is one source I highly recommend, and I have this every day. The other type of protein source that you can try, if, say, for example, you're vegan, or even, you could still not be vegan and you could have this, but for vegans, I know it's quite limited. Pea protein is another 9 essential amino acids in this product. So pea protein is, again, another good source. And again, you can have it with water. It's a little bit more bland, this one, with water. For anyone that has smoothies, I used to have smoothies, but since I've started this diet, it doesn't really sort of fit in so well with this diet. But yeah, this particular product is really good. Now, this one is from Golden Greens. This is a family company. In fact, a lot of the supplements here tend to be a family company, which, believe it or not, often are better because they don't have all of the added rubbish that they put in the mainstream ingredients. This one's also, believe it or not, a family company. This one I get on iherb.com because I'm in the UK, and this one is a UK family company. And another product here that I use. Now this one I will have once a day. This is a company called Mother Nature. Now they're based on eBay and they have various different supplements. This particular one is bisglycinate, and there's many different types of magnesium, but this one is particularly good for sleep. Now the reason I only take one of these is because the bisglycinate can cause oxalate issues, so it can kind of increase or turn to oxalates. So not for everybody, just for some people. So for that reason in mind, I try to keep this minimal, but it is such a good one for sleep. That's why I try and keep it in. So I just have one of those a day. And again, I would take that with a meal. Vitamin B5. Now, pantothenic acid. This is very good for the hair follicles, just the roots of the hair. It's very good for the scalp, and if you are starting out on a low oxalate diet, then you are going to notice possibly some hair thinning, hair loss, because it's part of, I suppose it's part of the hormones, and when the hormones are out of balance, and certainly for women, they do experience irregularities in their menstrual cycle, their hormones in general, and I certainly experienced that. It's starting to settle more now for me, and I'm 3 months in. But yeah, these are just extra things that you can kind of take just to help with the hair, because it can be a bit disconcerting when it does start thinning as your body's going through changes. Now this one again is Mother Nature, the company on eBay. This is the other magnesium that I take, and this one, as you'll see on the back, it says L-threonate. That's the type of magnesium, and this one is a slightly higher dose, but again, this company, 5 Greens, it's based in the UK, and it tends to be a cleaner product. So just try and source them. I mean, these companies here I've sourced myself, these 3, purely because when I was looking locally, I found that a lot of supplements had fillers and binders and things in there that were just, not good for the body and can cause more problems with the body. So when I searched, I mean, you might not get completely organic with everything, but if you can get as close to as clean as possible, where you are just getting, ideally, the ingredient that you want, i.e. B5 or magnesium, and nothing else added. It's hard to kind of completely eradicate everything, but you just want to be mindful of that. Okay, so this one here was recommended by my nutritionist when I actually started out, and I have kept it going. This company is called G&G. This is also, I believe, UK based. I say that, I think it's UK based, but anyway, I've purchased it in the UK, no problem. And this is a vitamin B6 complex. Now, this one again is fairly clean. It is a higher dose, but I've been fine with this. Now, if you're on a low oxalate diet, a lot of people on low oxalate diet can have B6 issues. And B6 can be found in eggs. I have 2 eggs every day, but it still only gives me, a certain amount. You really might need to take an extra additional supplement on this diet, mainly because the oxalates do attach to the minerals and nutrients in the body, and so you're not necessarily absorbing all of those, and this is why we supplement on this diet. So that particular one is particularly, personally, a good one for me. Another one that I use, which is to do with the hair side, biotin, and this one was recommended from the Try and Low Oxalates group. Not particularly this brand, but the supplement as in biotin. Now, yes, the Now Foods have been recommended for other supplements in the Try and Low Oxalates group. They do have a good range and they are close to what we're looking for. So if you can't find anything as good, then this is the next best thing. So biotin is again for hair, and it will help your hair grow. It does grow faster, mind, so you might need an extra trip to the hairdresser. But it is very, very good for the hair. And everybody's different. You might find you need to up the dose. But again, do this with precaution, like with anything supplement-wise. Always try and get some advice. The Try and Low Oxalates group is really helpful because people do share their stories. It's not necessarily applicable to everybody because we're all unique, but it will give you an idea of some guidelines and what to look out for. So the other thing I just want to share for people that particularly don't eat red meat, I mean, even if you do on this diet, again, things are going to get depleted in the body, so you still might need to top up on supplements. B12 is really quite vital for the body and the red blood cells. So, you know, if you can get a supplement, I started using this one last year. This was before I worked with a nutritionist. I continued using it because as we went into the program, I realized it was one of the things that she did recommend, and I'd already had it available. So if you can see this one is Nature Provides. It's a very high dose bioactive B12. And this one for me works. I really like it. And I've actually had proof that this works because when I was low in B12, I used this one every day. And when I had my oat test, which was through the nutritionist at the beginning of the year, which was a very comprehensive state-of-the-art testing for nutritional, and it shows you pretty much everything that's going on in the body where there's imbalance. The nutritionist just had to work out what the cause was. So the oat test that I did was a home test, and it was sent off to America to get fully tested. And the results came back, and then the nutritionist interpreted them. And it was very, very crucial to show what was going on in the body. And my B12 levels came back absolutely fine. So I know that this does work. And again, it's not a bad source. It's minimal stuff added. So just keep that in mind. The other things I would say, again, regarding lack of meat, and again, even people that are having meat in their diet, you may be low in iron, particularly when you go on a low oxalate diet, because again, oxalates combine to iron. Now this one I find is a really good tip that somebody shared in the low oxalates group, and I found it really helpful because I always say if you can avoid supplements where possible, then try and do that through natural foods. And the great thing about this is it does have a really good content of iron, but it also has copper and various other minerals which will help with the processing of the iron. So bearing in mind when you take a supplement on its own, you do need to make sure that there's other supplements or other foods in your diet that are going to complement that, because they all pretty much work together. So taking something on its own, although for the reasons I mentioned earlier are a good reason oxalate wise, you still need to make sure you've got the balance through your diet where possible. And this is where the nutritionist comes in, and the Try and Low Oxalates group, because they do share a lot of wealth of information. So this particular brand that I use is Meridian, and it's just one that I can get locally. Now this is black strap molasses, and this one's got nothing added to it. It's very pure, and it's just kind of like a syrupy, it's very sweet. It's almost got, it's got a very, I wouldn't say Marmite, but it's got like a very unusual kind of taste to it, but it's very, very sweet, very syrupy. So this one you know, if you're worried about your copper levels and things like that, then obviously this would be a good one to take, because it's going to incorporate quite a few minerals in it as well as the iron. And I would take about a teaspoon. Some people take a couple of teaspoons, but you know, again, that's adequate enough, and I just take it with food. The other thing that I do, and I just do this, say, every 3 days at the moment, because I am conscious when you are supplementing with iron, particularly in this type of supplement where it's not part of the food. If it's part of the food, then your body's going to do what it needs to do with it. But when it's in supplement form, you can take too much over time and it will build in the body, and then you could potentially get toxic. So you really need to be careful with anything like in supplement form and how much you're doing it. Now this particular one is again from G&G, which is a really good source, and this one is iron bisglycinate. So this one is a bit better absorbed in the body. It's a bit less of a problem to the stomach, which a lot of iron supplements can cause irritation to the stomach. I have tried both of these and I don't have any problems with any stomach irritation. Now, there are other iron supplements that are possibly superior on the market, so do your own research. But this one is a fairly sort of higher dose. So what I do is I just take one at the moment every 3 days. And then the other days I will take some of the blackstrap molasses. It's just not necessary to do this long term. Just be mindful of your body, try and listen to your body. But these are just things that you might be able to tap into. The other thing, these two have been recommended on the Trying Low Oxalate group. And I would say that Now Foods is just one source, and there are many different sources of these out there. What I liked about this particular supplement was that they both come in powder form. So I was able to just add it to water before a meal, and yeah, rather than take another pill. You can get them in pill form, but again, with pills, you just got to be careful there's nothing else added. These ones are just the pure powder. Now, calcium citrate, as I mentioned before, if you're doing anything on this diet, it's probably key to at least try some of this, purely because this binds to the oxalates, and you want to try and stop the oxalates being absorbed into the body or the bloodstream, so that they can cause havoc around the body. So the calcium will absorb it in the gut and hold on to it. And what the magnesium does, that also absorbs the oxalate, but what it does is it helps to push it out of the body quicker. So it kind of will just, I mean, they come hand in hand really, but you can have one without the other. Some people have a sensitivity to citrates. You might want to try something slightly different. But there's also potassium citrate. I tend to get my potassium from bananas and other sources. But, you know, as I say, these are just guides. Now, the one thing I will say is, me personally, I had at one stage I had half a teaspoon of each before each meal, about up to 20 minutes before the meal, so that it gets time to go into your stomach and then it's ready to do the job for when the food comes in. But I had a bit of stomach irritation when I did that 3 times, so I left it off for a while. But I knew it was vital to really try and have some calcium in my body. And so then I decided to reduce it to a quarter, and I just did it once a day with my main meal. I've been absolutely fine with that for both of these. Now, the sensitivity I found was a bit more on the magnesium citrate. So just listen to your body. But like I said, with a quarter of a teaspoon of each, I'm fine. I probably could up this if I was eating out, if it was a one-off, or, that's absolutely fine. Just listen to your body and work through it. But these are particularly very good for an oxalate diet. The other thing that's really good for an oxalate diet would be making your own electrolytes. Now, electrolytes are so easy to make because you just need some Celtic sea salt, or you need some pink Himalayan salt, as long as it's as pure as possible. And I will do a separate video when I actually make another batch, but it's so simple to make. It's just a matter of putting some in a glass jar and then putting some water on top and letting it sit for 24 hours. And then the water, the salts will absorb into the water, and then you just take, say, a certain amount. I usually use a syringe full, and add it to my distilled water, which will be completely clear of everything. You can add it to filtered water, that's absolutely fine, but it's really key to up your electrolytes every day. That's really vital because of the minerals that the oxalates absorbs from the body. So you really need to make sure that you are, one, hydrated, and two, have that balance with the electrolytes. There are other sources of electrolytes. There's coconut water. There's various electrolyte powders out there. This is another source of electrolytes that I use. Now, you've got to be very, very careful though with green powders. I used to love my green powders because that was my way of alkalizing my body and getting good greens and nutrients and vitamins in the body. But this also acts as an electrolyte for the body. Just be careful what you go for. This one hasn't been tested for low oxalates. Some of the other things here as well haven't been tested that I'm aware of. So you will have to use your discretion, because not everything on the list will apply, and you won't be able to get hold of everything. Like, I'm in the UK, and it'd be difficult for me to get hold of everything that's on the list of supplements that have been tested. So some things you really just have to go by your intuition and what you can find out about that product and what other people recommend. Now, this one wasn't recommended. This is my own thing that I've added in. It hasn't been tested naturally. So the only thing I will say is that on Sally K. Norton's data information, she did have barley grass on there. And because this is such a good, pure quality ingredient from barley grass juice, and it was one I was using earlier before I was on the oxalate diet, I personally like to use this. I don't overdo it. I just have a small amount in water a couple of times a day. But this definitely helps if you are acidic and you have problems with your diet and you need to have a more alkaline environment. So that is another way of again, electrolytes, because it's got lots of vitamins and minerals in there. The other thing I just want to share, I've got one other supplement which I will share in a minute, but is Epsom salt baths and bicarbonate of soda baths. Now, Epsom salts are really key, and it's one of the things that, I mean, I've been using them for many years on and off anyway because of their properties, particularly with detoxing and helping you to remineralize the body. They are particularly good for one, helping to remove some oxalate in the body, mineralizing the body, as I've just said, which is depleted by oxalates, but it also helps in balancing the sulfur in the body, which is one of the key components to doing as well. Now, the bicarbonate of soda is very alkalizing, so that's also very good to use. Now, if you're going to do Epsom salt baths and bicarbonate of soda, you really want to start with a very small quantity so that you don't get a extreme episode of oxalate dumping, because you can exacerbate the dumping through doing the Epsom salts, because not necessarily everybody's going to experience that, but because it's helping the process along, basically. It's not a bad thing, but it's just you might want to go slowly with it. Some people prefer just to do a foot soak with Epsom salts or bicarbonate of soda or both. I tend to do both of those. Having a bath every night, it's not always easy to fit in with your lifestyle, or just, you might want to just do a foot soak while you're watching TV or doing a meditation, whatever suits. So yeah, there's various ways of doing that. Okay, so I'm just going to share the last supplement with you. And here it is. It's one of the fish oils, and this one is called Carlson. Now, this particular one I also get off iherb.com because I'm in the UK. This one is Norwegian, and it's one of the better ones out there, I would say. I've tried a couple, but this particular one, again from the Triennial Oxalates group, was highly recommended, and it's certainly got some very good reviews. So this one, I would say, this is if you've got a lot of inflammation in the body, like me when I experienced the brain inflammation. This is particularly good because this will target that. So although I'm not per se a meat eater or a fish eater, I will take this for that reason. I'm not opposed to kind of trying things just to try and help my health where possible. But I try and work around it in the best way that suits me as well. So that is very, very good, as I say, for inflammation. There are other sources of products out there that are good for inflammation as well. But yeah, these are just a few ideas that you can kind of look at. And as I say, there's, depending on your health problems, what's going on in the body, there's so much more out there. So please do your research and have a look into it, and seek professional advice if you need it, of course. But as I say, I hope this has helped. I am going to share another video very shortly, just on my own experiences, because I haven't just used the oxalate diet and these supplements. I have used a couple other methods to try and help with my healing, and I want to share them because I actually feel that they're all helping in a holistic way. So it might be that rather than just sort of looking at trying to fix the oxalate problem with the oxalate diet, that you might maybe step outside of the box and try something else, because there are many ways to healing. And through my own personal experience, I'm finding I'm getting better progress by implementing other things as well. So I'll share that with you very soon, and I hope this has been helpful. And yeah, I will speak to you all soon. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.